I don't think counseling works. And my name is Paul Friedman. I am the founder of the Marriage Foundation. And I'm not the only one saying that. In fact, my perspective is that marriage counseling, traditional marriage counseling, does not work. And I'm going to explain to you why that you're not alone. What happens when you go into marriage counseling is they use a very, what I consider to be a primitive model for trying to heal a marriage. And that is they're trying to deal with the symptoms. They're not going to tell you they're dealing with the symptoms, because marriage counselors actually imagine that's not what they're doing. But the first thing they'll ask you after they've wasted 1 or 2 or 3 sessions finding out your history, they'll ask you, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong? That's like dropping a glass on the floor, watching it shred, picking up a piece, and trying to put it back together to heal that glass. It cannot be done. What's wrong is the same thing that's wrong when you have a plant. Okay? Let's use that as an analogy. If you have a plant and you stop watering it properly, fertilizing it properly, or you let the roots get too tight, everything's going to be a mess. So we already know that the plant, if it's displaying some of the symptoms, that you have a mess. And then all you need to do is go heal it. But you already know when you're going into a counselor, to marriage counseling, that you have a mess. You already know. And unfortunately, it doesn't translate quite as simply for a marriage as it does for a plant. But we do know that when you have a plant, there's things you have to do to sustain that plant in a healthy way, and same with a marriage. So what's happening by the time you get to marriage counseling is you're at the end of your rope. Nobody goes to marriage counseling at the first sign of trouble. Nobody does that. They think, oh, it'll work out. Things will improve. Let me give it time. What if he or she isn't ready and doesn't experience what I'm experiencing? And so, because you're not managing your marriage properly, you're not running your marriage properly, you're not maintaining it, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So by the time you go to marriage counseling, you're in a critical place and you need to start healing right away. And in marriage counseling, that is not what they do. So it doesn't work. They want to dig into it. They want to find out. When I began my sessions with couples, and we're talking about light years ago, bear in mind, I used to be a divorce mediator. So I was already used to people coming in with all the junk. And when I devised my system, I realized I wasn't interested in the junk. I realized that in order to get the marriage back on track, my goal had to be not to analyze what's wrong. I knew what was wrong. Everyone knows what's wrong. My marriage isn't working. Didn't need further analysis. People aren't stupid. So my system was very simple. Let's get you back on track. Let's tell you what you need to do that's right. let's start replacing the negatives by implementing the positives right off the bat. I didn't have to say or go into in great detail, stop arguing. They were arguing. And you know what? People in this day and age think that's okay. And I'm going, wait a minute, it's not okay. They don't do that in marriage counseling. In marriage counseling, they think there's a proper way to argue. No. Okay, why do I say that? Because I know I'm going against the general consensus. I say that because, and this is kind of cool, pay attention to this. Why did you get married in the first place? You got married to be happy. Hello. Not so complicated. Well, if you're happier than you were yesterday, you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing everything correctly. But if you're not, it means there's a lot of things potentially that you're doing wrong. And there's a lot of things you're not doing correctly. It became simple. And that's what I worked with, simple. I wasn't interested in what they were doing wrong. I wasn't going to insult anyone's intelligence. I merely stated, for example, you have to stop arguing. And then I would explain how you do that. And that's where the energy goes. Not into analyzing why you're arguing. You're arguing because you have a disagreement and you don't know how to bring it back to a level of discussion. You need an education in that arena. Lack of intimacy. Why? I don't care what's going on in your marriage that is hindering the lack of intimacy. I want to give you the tools to increase the intimacy the way intimacy should be increased. There is a right way and a wrong way. And in our modern world, we don't learn the right way. Intimacy in our world, tell me if I'm wrong. Intimacy equals sex. And you might say, oh, yeah, except it also means, and I say, no, it doesn't mean sex at all. There's a universal problem with understanding marriage. And so how could marriage counseling, the way it's done by most, and none of them do it the same way, you know, how could that possibly work? We get emails all the time at the Marriage Foundation telling us we've been in marriage counseling now for 3 months and it doesn't seem to be helping. And I'm going, 3 months? My God. When I worked with couples, I made sure that they walked out of the first session positive, uplifted, and with direction and directions. And how many sessions did it take with me? Not many. Not many. Why? Because I just want to get your marriage on track. You're not stupid. You know what you should do once you realize how it works. Marriage is not rocket science. Now, I'm not saying there's not a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts. So don't try to do this on your own. Again, we get emails all the time from people who go, oh, I listened to your video and things seem to be working okay for a couple of weeks, but now, blah, 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 or yada, 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 depending on where you're from. look, there are things that you can learn that are fairly simple if your marriage is not in really tough shape. And for that, you could use one of my books because it lays out marriage very simply and succinctly. But if you're already sliding, there's way too much for you to learn through trial and error. You need to be brought along step by step. And then it becomes a simple process that 99% of the people who take the course gravitate to right away. And then success is inevitable, which, by the way, is more proof of marriage counseling not working because their success rate is below 10%, way below. Our success rate, which is simple, it's based on principles and education and a step-by-step process, we're over 97% success. And I think it would be higher if we didn't encourage people, we'll try it. You have nothing to lose. You know, we have an extraordinary guarantee. So for me, healing your marriage should be no different than going in to have your car repaired. The expert knows exactly what to do, and they just do it. No big fanfare. And that's how it should be for healing your marriage. That is not how it is when you go into marriage counseling. It's very unfortunate. Now, we trained some marriage counselors, but I could go back all the way to the beginning when I began training them in my living room. I think it was in 2008 or 10. And I started with 13. And then I had to fire some of our students because all they were looking for, quite frankly, and it's something you need to be looking out for too, they were looking for ways to keep their clients coming back. Sad but true. They're not like doctors. Some of them have the doctor in front of their name, but they got their doctorate. They didn't become medical doctors. Really big difference. Now, I'm not putting down marriage counselors. Most of them who I met are nice people, great people. Some are a little crazy, just like everyone else. And some are evil. I know some who have been hauled off to jail, many who have lost their license for abusing their position. But they're, for the most part, good people. Unfortunately, they don't have a style that is consistent. All of them use their own style, and again, all of them are driven. It's not their fault, but they're all kind of driven to make sure you keep coming back. So I truly understand if marriage counseling isn't working for you. My suggestion, try our stuff. It's so much easier, it's faster, it's clear as a bell. We have milestones, goals, things that you need to achieve, and then the end result is what's most important. The end result is your marriage is happening. It's producing happiness every day. You're more happy because we rely on simple principles. For instance, you got married to be happier, and you built your marriage, or were supposed to build your marriage, upon the foundation of love. Love is a side effect when you go into marriage counseling. And for us, it is the crux of your marriage. So, Don't feel alone if you think there must be something wrong with you because marriage counseling isn't working for you. You're not alone. Don't feel there's something wrong with you and your spouse that marriage counseling isn't working for you. Don't blame yourselves and go, well, we might as well get a divorce. No. Just put it aside. Find us or something else like us that can assure you of marital success. I'm going to leave you on that note. I hope you subscribe to our channel. Share this video, at least with your spouse, so they don't think they're crazy too, and maybe with others. And get in touch with us if you need some help. We're here for you. We're a nonprofit foundation. Nobody in this organization is encouraged to sell you something you don't need. In fact, the opposite is true. We're here for you. Blessings to you, blessings to your spouse, and blessings to your family. Thank you. God bless.